Good morning. How are you all? It's
Morning,
exciting.
morning. All
Good
good?
morning.
Good morning.
Good deal. Well, welcome. Thanks for jumping on this live with us. And we're talking about a really important topic today. I feel like it is extremely important to really dedicate an entire day to this topic itself. And what better month than Men's Health Month? We have a topic today called Strong from the Inside Out. It's the holistic approach to men's health and kind of just talking on mental, physical, and spiritual health of our men today in society, which is so important and so needed. We got one more popping up here. And it's important because of the alarming statistics that we see around men's health. I wanted to pull some up here today just to kind of go over them. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Jamie Lee, founder of Alternative Healthcare Solutions, easy for you to say. Alternative Healthcare Solutions is a collective of practitioners who believe in your body's innate ability to heal and recover from whatever the condition that it is, whether it's chronic stress, whether it's mental health, whether it's physical health, autoimmune, emotional health, you name it. We're here to help guide you through and to help you to connect your body with that innate ability to heal and repair itself. You are your own true healer, and we're able to connect you with that compass, really, and help guide you through. So we all have incredible backgrounds. We all have incredible stories, which once you kind of get to know who we are and what we do, you'll find out more about how we've come along this journey. And oddly enough, my whole journey in the holistic health world started with the health of my father. So, and today the topic, even though it's focused on men's health, it's really to that woman as well who is supporting a man in their life, because sometimes men have some blockages that prevent them from actually caring for themselves in ways that typically women are the more nurturing side and that we do. So sometimes men can kind of seem to brush it off as okay, right? I'll be fine. Walk it off, right? As their leg is dangling from the war zone. They're like, we'll just walk it off. So today I just wanted to kind of introduce everybody and start this topic. The way this kind of works is, again, we have a topic that we approach, and today is the men's health. And then we have questions from our audience and from just polling our members of our community and to discuss what is the main meat behind the men's health and what is it that we need to be addressing. So today we'll answer those questions and kind of just have a discussion about it. And then at the end of the month, on June 28th, we will have an entire health fair day dedicated to this topic from each one of our practitioners. So you're going to have a solid hour from each one of us that is going to dive deep into our area of expertise addressing the topic. So again, women are welcome to this topic too, because you are all, affected by the man's health, and a lot of times a caregiver. I know that oftentimes my husband is like, hey, so what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And it probably is not just because I'm a health coach, but I'm sure it's just part of that partner relationship as well. But it also can be the oldest daughter caring for the father, or, a scenario like I experienced. But there's always that connection to really help support the men's health. And that's why we're here today. So welcome. And I'm going to give a minute for everybody to kind of introduce yourself. And we'll start with Jody.
All right. Thanks so much, Jamie. Hi, everyone. I'm Jody Solberg, and my background is in the mental and behavioral health side. I have a background in social and clinical psychology as well as counseling for over 25 years now, and I'm a certified master clinical hypnotherapist and have been a hypnotherapist for almost that entire time. And what I specialize in is really helping people get to the root cause, not just talk in circles around their issues for years and decades, but really to figure out what's going on behind the scenes in our subconscious mind, which can, of course, affect our thoughts, our emotions, our behaviors, and our physical health and well being. And I do work with both men and women, as well as families. And so I see a lot of what we're going to be talking about today and what Jamie was just addressing. Which is a lot of times it is the woman that's the catalyst, that's the one that's reaching out, the one that's encouraging the man to do that inner work and to figure out what's going on, because often things get suppressed, things get pushed down or pushed aside. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. And in my workshop at the end of the month, my specialty areas are really the effects of things like trauma and anxiety, as well as things like addiction, for example, and how we can really create these maladaptive coping strategies. And I do see that a lot of times with men, they're not wanting to deal with things physically, emotionally, mentally. And so I'll be talking about that in my workshop as well. So thank you so much for having me today.
Beautiful. I love it. And it's so great to have you here. We'd like to address the mind, body, and spirit whenever we are addressing the whole person. And that's what's so great about alternative healthcare solutions. You're going to see experts from different areas of the mind, body, spirit connection. And so we're happy to have you here, Dr. Jody. Thank you so much. All right. And next is Bashad.
Morning, everyone, or afternoon or evening, wherever you are. Hope you're all well. I'm Vishad. I'm the Mindset Transformer. I work with you from whichever symptom you've got going on in your life, rooting it down to the root cause of low self-worth, i.e. the feeling that you're not good enough. And we look to repair that together from the observations, programming experiences that you've had in your life going on, to let you then craft your path to your own inner peace, whatever that looks like to you. There's a variety of ways that we do that, but the point here is that we want to just embed new patterns and practices together that work for you, not just some generic template. We work out what I call your individual mindset map. So for any Harry Potter fans, that's playing on like the Marauders map that you see in the series. But essentially, I look to work with anyone that feels they've got the curiosity and want to work on themselves and feel that there is more to life than what they see is going on. I think this is a brilliant topic this month to address. Speaking as the only man live on the group here, I feel it's something that we definitely need to have more conversation about and more awareness raised. But beyond just the observation stages and acknowledgement, it's like, what can we all do collectively as human beings to, repair self-worth and get these kind of stats that are going all in the wrong direction, despite all the means we've got today, where we can all perhaps help each other. So very excited for this conversation.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you here, Bashad, and you're absolutely right. A lot of times, often I see in my practice, men have that mindset of not feeling worthy enough to put the attention on their health. And that is a big stumbling block for them to be able to do that, to be able to heal and transform. And so it's so important that you're here, and I'm glad that you're able to chime in for it with us. I had a client in particular who her husband is the one with the autoimmune disease, and but he doesn't have the self-worth to be able to focus on healing himself. And the wife, as the caretaker, is my client now, because of her own health decline, of trying to put into him the worth for him to see it himself. And so it's taken a toll on her own health. And so it's so important that we advocate for these men, but also support the women who are advocating for them as well. So it's a very holistic approach, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. And we have Kate. Kate, it's been a little bit, I can't remember if you were able to join us on the last one or not. It's been a minute since we've had that one, but it's good to have you here.
Yes, it's great to be here. Yeah, I did miss the last one or two, but I'm happy to be back. I absolutely love these discussions because we just come at it from so many different perspectives and angles, and it's just I not only learn, but I feel like we just have so many different backgrounds that it just kind of it feels like there's always a path forward for someone through these conversations. And so I work as an energy healing practitioner. And I work with people and with pets. I work with men and women, but I work really with discovering suppressed energy in the body. So things like suppressed emotions, things we have shoved down, not dealt with, and helping people realize that that's actually energy. It's a vibration that when you suppress an emotion, it's trapped in your body, and that disrupts tissues, muscles, organs, but thought patterns. It affects how you think and feel and behave and act in the world. And so when we can identify those energies and release those energies from the body can help repair and balance and self-heal. It just activates self-healing in the body. And so I work primarily with the emotion code technique as well as the global energy method. I also incorporate sound and frequencies into healing when working with clients. And really excited about this discussion because I actually feel as though I had a great model growing up. My father was someone who was very into taking care of himself and being preventative. And he was very well read, and he was very much focused on the idea of let's take care of ourselves. And I think that gave a very good model. And so as I started to go out in the world, though, it was interesting to find that there's a lot of men who maybe don't have that focus. So it's an exciting discussion that we're going to have today. I'm excited to be part of it.
Yes. What a blessing you had to have a dad that was mindful of all of that. It's great to see that leadership in men of really supporting them. And I think that when men support themselves, same as women, when we support ourselves, that reflects onto others and encourages the person that we're partnered with to also take care of their own health. And so it's a good reflection. So Judy, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's always fun to be here and to tackle whatever topic we're dealing with for the month. And I love the idea of men's health. I have a lot of men in my life, not only my dad and my father-in-law. I've got 3 brothers, I've got 2 sons, and a wonderful husband. So, lots of men in my life that I love and that I want to help take care of. And you're right. Oftentimes they're reticent to go for help even when it's obvious that maybe they need some help. I recall having to pressure my husband to go see someone for some stitches after cutting his finger on a chainsaw. And it's like, dude, I do not have enough paper towels for this. We need to go in. So yeah, sometimes we just need to be that encouragement to the guys in our life because I think from a lot of ways they're used to having to push through. And that's a normal thing. Push through how you feel because you need to provide for your family. You need to go to work. You need to be strong. And we need to support them and making sure that they're taken care of such that they can be strong for others. I am a functional blood chemistry analyst, hashtag blood detective. I love to use your labs to do a deep dive and figure out what's actually going on in your body. How is it functioning? What symptoms can we associate with how things are going in your body? And then when we figure out what's going on inside, that can help us create a path to healing because we actually know what we're addressing. We're not guessing anymore. And so I really love to help people who are searching for answers to their health struggles, whether that's unexplained symptoms, whether that is confusing lab results, or maybe even lab results that say that they're normal when they clearly feel anything but normal. And they might think it's normal, but the women in their lives might be like, that's not normal. You should go get that checked out. So that's where functional blood chemistry analysis comes in. So I love helping those people who are lost, who are frustrated, who are like, something's just not right, to figure out what is going on. And another passion of mine, based on my own life experience, is brain health. And having been a traumatic brain injury survivor and thriver now, I am passionate about helping your brain heal. So whether that's stroke recovery, TBI recovery, dementia prevention, early dementia reversal, all those sorts of things. I love to kind of combine the two, because what's going on inside of our body, inside of our blood, really does affect our brain and our mental health. It really is our physical health as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that you're here. Thank you so much. And you're absolutely right. And when we go and have those labs done and we're told that it's normal and it's not normal, men's testosterone is a great example. There's a huge range of what men's testosterone levels should be. And if it falls within that huge range, then they just say it's normal, but yet it's not normal. And the testosterone can be connected to so many different areas of a man's health. And so again, this is such a great topic today. I'm glad you guys are all here and are going to join me on this. I want to go ahead and talk about a couple of statistics that I felt like were pretty alarming. So we're going to address kind of mental, physical, preventative, and hormone stress in a holistic perspective. But when I was looking through this, so one on the mental health side, which it's also, we just came off of Mental Health Awareness Month last month, and we had a great event on mental health and kind of just addressing those topics. But men die by suicide nearly 4 times more often than women. That 4 times more often than women. And that was a report done back in 2022. So I'm sure that those statistics have changed since then. Hopefully they've gotten better, but I'm not, wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. Depression in men often goes undiagnosed due to the stigma and atypical symptoms such as anger, irritability, or risk-taking behavior. So a lot of times they're not seeking that help. Or that diagnosis because of the stigma around it. Also being afraid of labels and whatnot. You know, there's a lot there that they carry with seeking that help. Physical health. So heart disease is the leading cause of death for men in the U.S., accounting for 1 in every 4 male deaths. That's pretty alarming, and that was reported from the CDC back in 2023. More than 50% of men over the age of 50 experience prostate issues, yet many avoid screenings out of fear or discomfort, which, you know, again, this is all information that we are not addressing, and it's time to shed some light on this and really find some answers for some people. Preventative care and engagement. So men are 24% less likely than women to have seen a doctor in the past year. And 60% of that 24% of men, 60% of men say that they only go to a doctor when something is seriously wrong. So they are pushing past, they are being what they view as strong or enduring, and pushing past all those warning signs and only going when something is seriously wrong. And I know from my experience, that was my father, even my brothers, my husband now, you know, he's even the type that you talked about, Judy, where I will see him working out in the yard and he'll have duct tape and something else wrapped around a finger. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, do you have all of your finger there? They just push past and they just are able to, you know, endure a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort, you know, for the sake of their families or the sake of the task. And that can be really taxing on the physical body, the emotional body, and the spiritual body. So it's pretty important to bring awareness to. Testosterone levels have dropped significantly in the last 50 years by up to 20%. And chronic stress increases cortisol, which negatively affects the testosterone production, sleep quality, and muscle recovery. So those are all connected. And from a holistic perspective, men are more likely to externalize stress through substance use, aggression, or isolation, which often masks the underlying emotional distress. And I think it's always something to really be mindful of is when we've experienced trauma in men and women, a lot of times you will see that in obesity or overeating or substance abuse, and that is the mask. So, when we started to connect those dots as far as what those signs in the physical body manifest themselves, it's really eye-opening to be able to see how many people are affected by this, and we're not truly addressing the root cause of these things. And it's time to really get past that stigma. But I know that there's also this white coat fear that people have by going to the doctor. And I think that that's what makes alternative healthcare solutions also so great, is because we can bridge that gap for the man who hates the doctor. We can be that advocate for them and to really provide them with the information. I think that's another thing that men struggle with, is they don't want to look like an idiot. They don't want to walk in there and just be taken advantage of or put on some pill when they don't know the ramifications of it. And so it really prevents them from asking questions or from really diving into their health issues. So as a holistic practitioner, we're able to support you and provide you with those questions that you want to be asking, alternative solutions that you could be presenting to your doctors, and really just helping you to get down to those root causes, even if it's lab testing or emotional discussion or mindset. It's any one of those areas that we can really help guide you and walk you through. So that was kind of just my first starter of all of this, just kind of looking at the statistics and see what's around there. And of course, like I said, some of these are outdated, so I'm sure that his numbers have changed, but that's most recent information that we have. So as far as going, the term strong inside out, I want to kind of ask you guys, from a holistic context, what does that mean to you, to be strong from the inside out? Bashad, you want to go?
I think the epitome of that is in that phrase of repaired self-worth. When it comes to the inside, that in itself is the point. Your answers are inside you already. It's not to say you find them and you accept them and that's it, because much of what you mentioned in all those stats that are going the wrong way is the idea that this is all I am, this is all I'm resigned to, this is it going forward. So in that point you made about we just soldier on, deal with it, because that's the epitome of what we should be conforming to, wrapping duct tape round an amputated limb or whatever. Well, we just crack on, because I did some looking up as well, and there was a study done of 1,000 men, and they asked questions of like, what in particular about mental health, but this could apply to in general, and they literally got to the roots of limiting statements and beliefs that epitomize why they don't necessarily look after their health or specifically talking to anyone about their mental health. And the top reason, so this is 40% of respondents said, I've learned to deal with it. So it's the idea that you look inside and go, right, that's all I am and that's it. But there's always the opportunity to work on that, to acknowledge it, to make the changes that you want to, not what someone else is telling you to do. Because immediately your subconscious will go, well, I don't really get on board with that. It's not about you going, right, I've got to do what everybody tells me to do and change. That's not the point. The strength from the inside shows you have the courage and want of your own conviction to do what is right for you. Now, there are some people that will disagree with it. Some people will have a different experience. That's all okay. From the outside, it might look, we confuse sometimes the whole, if they look healthy, like they're going to the gym or they've got the right body, whatever the right body shape is, we just epitomize it at that. I'm like, okay, that's the model I need to go after. But again, it needs that communication, that conversation. Okay, what worked for you? What was your aim? What was your goal? How do you do it? Now, it's getting more the knowledge, the understanding of what it took for that person for your subconscious to go, okay, that's something I could get on board with, or I don't quite agree with this bit. The point is, everything is very individual, rather than at the moment where we're trying to go, right, do this and everybody will benefit and do that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's like you look outside for your answers. But when you epitomize this statement of strong inside and out, it's basically the idea of, okay, I'm not saying I do the right decision every time. I'll make mistakes. Why? Because I'm a human being. That does not mean I excuse myself and go the other end of the scale and just go, fuck it, I'll just do whatever I want. It's the idea that you can go forward, accept yourself for who you are, continue to make mistakes, but also give yourself a chance to practice, stay kind to yourself, keep learning, and progress accordingly. So your progress is not meant to just be on an upward trend all the time. It will be like one of those weird stock graphs where it goes up and down, up and down, up and down, all part of the journey. And that's what we're all striving to practice to do. We're always a student. We're always looking to learn and see what's going on. But I think that epitomizes the strength where we go, do you know what? All that programming that I've been exposed to and has been running the show for years and years, I can now make the changes that I want to do with my own responsibility.
Yeah.
And I think part of that comes to
Well said,
establishing.
Well said. Kate, did you want to chime in on this one?
Yeah, but Judy started, so I'll let Judy go and then I'll jump in.
That's okay. I was just saying that I think part of that comes to being able to have those goals for yourself as a man. I think so many times it's corporate goals, it's family goals, it's what should be done without actually saying, what are my goals for myself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually? Like, where do I want to be? And actually just taking the time to think about that and process that and realize that that is a valid use of your time and energy, especially as a man, especially as a leader, especially as someone who wants to be strong, to know what direction you want to go in, I think is hugely important, to just kind of have that time to reflect. And that requires saying, like, where am I now? And how do I actually feel inside, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally? Where do I want to go with that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so important.
Yeah, and along those lines, it's what you're sharing is, to me, strong from the inside out is really just becoming your own advocate. And so I work a lot with emotions and feeling and people who have suppressed and trapped emotions, and really I feel from a holistic standpoint, it's just identifying what you feel without judgment and just being an advocate for yourself and your own health. And I think that's really what strength is from the inside, is to whatever you feel. And if you feel that there is something going on, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, physical health, standing up and just becoming your own advocate is true strength. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that point, Kate, about being your own advocate. To me, that being strong inside and out, isn't just about physical endurance, mental toughness, which is often how it's described. It's really about living in alignment with where your mind and body and spirit are connected. And that resilience isn't just about toughness. It's coming from inner clarity and rather than outward performance, and all about achieving and providing, and so many pressures and expectations that our society and ourselves, right, put on men. And so in that holistic healing realm, it's really about learning the emotional fluidity, being able to learn those healthy coping strategies, nervous system regulation, and being able to connect with themselves, with self-awareness and with purpose. And so, yeah, that self-advocacy piece is so important, because again, the self-worth, like you were talking about, Jamie, that's really important, that it's not just about taking care of, providing for everyone else and being tough and, just stuffing it down and not addressing things. Like Kate was saying, it's so important to really address if something's going on. If you feel like there's something, don't just ignore it. until it's so much further progressed, which we see a lot with men. It's like it has to be really bad before sometimes they will advocate for themselves and get that support that they need. It's really important to have these kinds of conversations so we can help encourage people to do that sooner than later.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. So why do you believe that men's health is often overlooked and stigmatized in alternative healthcare or alternative care spaces? Why is it that this is such a female-dominated industry? Jody?
I can start with that one. Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of it, I think, just stems from our cultural conditioning around masculinity, that men are socialized to suppress the emotions, like we were just saying, and avoid vulnerability. And, strength equals being stoic. And that doesn't align with the openness that we think of often for different alternative healing modalities. And a lot of alternative wellness spaces, I think unconsciously, will center around more and market towards more of the feminine side. And so I think sometimes it makes it harder for men to see themselves reflected in that or feel welcome. And, we all have both masculine and feminine energy. But I think when we swing the pendulum so far one way and really say, well, it's the majority of women who are going to be reaching out and looking for these services, so we're going to completely target them, then we leave a lot of people out, including men who may not be able to relate.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great point. Judy, what do you think as well? I mean, I think that in conventional medicine, it's male dominated, and then in the healthcare space, it's female dominated. Would you say that's probably accurate?
I would say it's probably accurate from a practitioner point of view. I think from a patient client point of view as well, I think a lot of men do this strong until they can't take it anymore, right? It's like strong until they're at the breaking point, and at that point they feel like it's an emergency, and so they very much traditionally go a conventional allopathic medicine route because they've waited so long that they don't feel like anything preventative could address the issue. And so, allopathic medicine can be fantastic for those crisis situations, the heart attacks, the strokes, the car accidents, the chainsaw injuries, all those sorts of things. But what we would really like to do is to have an effect either before you get there, ideally, or afterwards to help your body actually heal. And I think that so many times the women are more protective, proactive, nurturing, because that's more of our mindset in that way. Whereas men are like, I'm going to keep going until I can't go any further. And then at that point, it becomes a crisis that requires other interventions. And I think that we can have a lot of impact in these lives to say, no, there's some really simple things that we can do to help you so that you don't have prostate issues, to help you keep that testosterone high, to help you prevent those cardiovascular issues that put you at a high risk of heart attacks and strokes. That we can really take care of those things from a preventative standpoint, or even kind of reverse what's been going on and take you more towards an optimal place. So, it's just kind of shifting that mindset to say, we don't have to push through until it's a crisis.
And then to go on what Jody was saying about cultural conditioning, I think early on, men in particular, well, males receive that message of be a man. So when they express natural emotion, natural feeling, they've got the program experience from a caregiver or someone. They say, don't cry or don't express, or be a man, be strong, because of what they know. It's not a blame game. It's just what they know in terms of the expectations. So very early on, we received that programming of, I felt something naturally, but I got admonished for expressing it. So going forward, I'm going to suppress that in order for me to be accepted. Later on in life, we see that on the other side, women just talk more. They're great at opening more possibilities up. But for the male side of things, we don't see it enough. We don't talk. If I go back to the same studies before about limiting patterns and beliefs, there were 5 distinct patterns that they discovered in the form of people saying what they believe out loud about their health. Things like, I don't want to be a burden to anyone. So you keep it in yourself. I'm too embarrassed. There's negative stigma about this kind of thing. I don't want to admit I need support, and I don't want to appear weak. These are all things that they've been led to believe as a guy that they don't want to go against. They don't want to break the mold, so to speak. So invariably, as we said, we'll keep that model of suppressing until we can't suppress it any longer. So the reason I think it's overlooked in that regard is like, well, there's just not enough about it. We only know about these things in the extreme stats point: depression, suicide. You know, another stat I read that really opened my eyes earlier was they did a study on male suicide here in the UK, and they found that 91% of people involved in the study, they'd gone to see their doctor in amongst their sort of medical history. So they'd gone to a medical professional, yet it feels like, you know, maybe not enough help was given or not enough was disclosed. You know, another part of the survey said men feel uncomfortable talking about their mental health, even with their doctor. So ultimately, it might be overlooked because there's just not enough being talked about it. So it's like, well, we just assume they're all right. They, you know, just get on with it. And on the other side, if we talk about men's health, you know, as a holistic thing, you know, we've got a magazine called Men's Health. But what's it promoting? Physical body, the best weights, the best supplements, this kind of thing. It's just focusing on, you know, body building, that kind of thing. And I'm a bit naive in that I don't necessarily know all of it, but that's the portrayal that we're saying, okay, men's health means this. So again, it's perpetuating the idea that, right, men's health is being addressed here and that's what it looks like. But what about the patterns that guide this? What is behind it? Why are, you know, men feeling in a certain manner? What's giving rise to it? You know, there's loads of things we can talk about and people have touched upon already. But on the other side, when we do see women talking in a wide variety of issues, not just amongst themselves, but, you know, trying to outreach to everybody else in that regard, it's like, shit, why can't we keep up? I think that's where we all are. We're at that crossroads of like, well, clearly something's not going right in our space. So where can we move forward?
Yeah, that's such an incredible point that you make about it being more on the physical appearance of being, you know, fit and having the 6-pack, and, you know, that the emphasis is put on that so much in society. And like, even if you look at our Father's Day cards, like, it always blows me away if you go through the Father's Day aisle of all of the cards and see how belittling it is in this humorous way of it. And, you know, anything from the bearding dad, or, you know, you are my fodder, you know, it's like all of these play on words to this, you know, drinking, gassy, you know, checked out person, that is just, it's sad to see that they even know to market it that way. And then you look at our television shows, and what do our television shows portray? We have, you know, think of like The Simpsons, right? Bart is a man who's grown and overweight, and to be put in check. And all across the board, when we start to see, there's never really this role model of this powerful man that is healthy mentally, physically, and spiritually, that's leading and showing up for himself. It's all in toxic forms. And so we are inundated with this visual of what to expect of a man. And that is really what we have to think. It's not as often that you see women being belittled in television shows and media the way that we see men are, and it's alarming and frustrating on my end to see it for you guys, because I feel like for decades. I also believe that there's an element to the fact that we have different us. And they work in factories and their health struggles. They struggle to be on top of that. So,
oh, we lost Jamie.
I love technology.
I think we lost her, but hopefully she'll be right back. I think it's so true. The way that things are portrayed, it really has an effect on what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and those sorts of things. So how would we know? Maybe what are some signs that a man's physical, mental, emotional health is out of balance?
Well, when we're talking about the mental and emotional side, things like irritability, withdrawing, sleep issues, increased maybe alcohol or substance or screen use, conflicts in their relationships, numbness or disconnection. Those types of signs are things that are common. And, many male clients, don't necessarily label things like anxiety or depression, but feel things like they'll describe pressure or burnout or feeling off, feeling disconnected, those types of things. Welcome back, Jamie. So we're talking about the mental and emotional health now. You're good. Thank you for Judy just kind of kept the ball rolling there. So thanks, Judy. Kate, what do you see when we're talking about these imbalances with men when it's like mental, emotional, or physical?
Yeah, a lot of just suppressed energy of what society, says that men shouldn't feel. They just suppress it, is what I tend to find. So, there are things like just fear, men admitting that they're fearful of something. They just can't. They need to be strong. So they tend to suppress that. That turns into anxiety. It turns into depression. So a lot of it is more emotional driven. And it ties back to everything we've been talking about, how men are marketed to and how they should view their own strength or their manhood. And so it does show up that, like, when we're going through and talking about, okay, they're feeling off, they're feeling sick, they're feeling, disconnected, or maybe they have a health challenge. And what comes up is fear, anxiety, nervousness, insecurity. Instead of just saying, hey, you know what, I'm a little nervous about doing this or experiencing this, they suppress that energy. And then it ultimately affects their body and affects them physically and mentally. It affects them hormonally. So it's a lot of those really suppressed emotions that come up. A lot of times they'll come to me for something physical, and instead of us working on physical energetic imbalances, which can show up in sessions, it's more emotions that are really coming up as a primary thing that need to be released. And it's interesting also when you look at some women who fall more on the masculine side, like there's the feminine energy and the masculine energy. It's the same kind of thing, like, women who have these strong corporate jobs and they're just taught to be leaders and show strength. They tend to suppress a lot of the same types of emotions.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think too, when you have those suppressed emotions, like you said, the men have them and they feel them, but they are not expressed. And so a lot of times they are suppressed. That can cause that ripple effect in their own health and their own world, and also start to reflect our relationships. So when the man is, when they're carrying that, they are completely connected to us. A lot of times women can energetically feel that from the male, and then it's this distraction or this wall that goes up between us and really prevents our relationships from growing into the depths that we need. So it's very important to understand, and I think also that's why I love what you do, Kate, because you are like, your modality is so great for men, because I think that a lot of times they think, I'm not going to go see a shrink, I'm not going to go see a therapist,
Right.
but they do have these deep hidden things that they've suppressed, right? And so in your modality, you're able to identify them without going through the topic, without going deep dive into why they feel this way. And so they're actually able to release those emotions that they may not even know that they have or where they originated from, but they're able to just quickly have those removed through the process of emotion code therapy. So I think it's so great what you do. Yeah, I think it's very important.
If I may just add one more thing on the back of some of the signs, I think one of the big ones is we go quiet. We feel one of the last reason they said on this study was a lot of people said, I have no one to talk to. We feel alone. We feel alone, whether we're surrounded physically by people, by family, by colleagues, by partners, children, whomever, but we feel alone. And we try to understand ourselves. What does that mean? We might be feeling all sorts. And when we talk about pressures, there's unique belief or societal patterns that we've taken on that leads to pressure. So again, in these stats, they're saying the top 3 issues affecting men's health is work-related pressure, so the pressure to perform in their career; financial pressure, the typical breadwinner, I've got to provide food for my family, this kind of thing; and their health concerns. So yes, they do feel, okay, I'll just wrap duct tape and just get around myself and keep going. But that's a concern that they're not addressing, the things they can't see. It's easy to see a cut finger or whatever, but what's that doing? Cardiovascular conditions, all these kind of things that you can't see. But come back to the point of they're feeling they're on their own. When we go quiet, I think this is where we can all play a part together. Like, I often feel it as a guy that, you feel alone. That's not just being single. That's not, something that's talked about a lot, but it's that idea of, well, one of the signs that you want to look for, like, one thing I thought of is, like, if you open your phone, go on WhatsApp, if you scroll down to your messages, not the ones at the top that you've most recently replied to, have got replies on, go down your list. How far do you go until you find people that you haven't got a reply from, not reached out to, haven't replied to their point is, communication is paramount. The reason I think a lot of men in particular go, well, I'll just shut up then. And that leads to an idea they don't feel heard, they feel alone, and therefore they don't feel good enough. So therefore, to not be a burden, which is what people said, they'll shut up. And then, unfortunately, leads to the extreme solution. Well, I'm not good enough for anyone. So I'm not therefore saying go to the other end and just like pester people all the time. Not pester, but like, are you okay? You okay? You okay? It's that whole, everyone here has alluded to it, hold space for people, check in on people. It's very simple. Just check in on people. How you doing? You okay? That's it. Might sound trite. It might sound, that's not going to make a difference. It can work wonders. It won't solve everybody's solution overnight. No, not at all. But it's a start. But given the question was about what's the sign, we're just quiet. You don't hear from us for ages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's such a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. I think it's very valid to say that whenever we see men going silent, it's imperative to see that they have withdrawn, and pay attention to that.
I want to share too, this is very much a generational thing, and many generations of men, and it goes beyond our society today. This is deeply rooted patterns and ways of behaving that are very generational, and brought down generation to generation to how men should respond, act, feel, or their perception of how they need to respond. And so, your words, Vishad, just spoke directly to my heart, and it's a reminder too that, this is something that gets passed down, father to son, father to son, father to son. And it's a beautiful reminder that, hey, you know what, when there's that silence there, that's the time to check in. And it really is, it's not that I think that men don't want help or don't need help, but it's just even being able to ask for support is so perceived as weak. And they have so many responsibilities and burdens that they've put on themselves that, again, nope, just silence, plug through, and go. So thank you for sharing that, Pishad, because it's such an important perspective.
Yeah, I think that's so important as well, because there are those pressures and expectations you were both talking about, to be stoic and always in control and emotionally invulnerable. And that can cause men to internalize that pain and ignore those early warning signs we've been talking about. It can lead to that bottled up trauma and toxic stress and disconnection from themselves and the people around them. And when they believe that feeling or reaching out for support is weakness, they lose access to those healing tools, from within and from without, intuition and empathy and vulnerability, but also asking for that support. So yeah, it was such amazing points. Thank you both.
And to Kate's point as well, generationally speaking, it can also be passed down through your DNA. So those passed down from generations. And if you look at the generations, 3 generations ago, where, our men were in war and our men were in mines, and, the environment that they were in, and then pass that thought pattern or those emotions down through the DNA. And now we have men, they're comparing fathers, and I don't have anything to complain about, and so then they do go silent because they don't feel heard. And I think it's also part of the reason why we see men joining gangs and men joining motorcycle groups and, things like that, because they are trying to find that place that they fit and feel heard.
That's such a good point, Jamie. I think we lost you a little bit there at the end, but yeah, so important. That's actually one of the things I'm going to be focusing on at the end of the month in my workshop, is going to be all about breaking those generational cycles. And like you said, it can be socially passed down, but also, you said, epigenetically as well. And so I think that is important to remember, is that, this is conditioning isn't new. It's been happening for a very long time.
Absolutely. Well, that concludes our roundtable today, especially since my Wi-Fi is going crazy and being unstable today. But if you guys want to register for the event, it's coming up on June 28th. It'll be all day long, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Central Daylight Time. And you're welcome to join us. Connect by join-ahs.org and reserve your ticket. And you'll get to go in depth more is so desperately needed to be addressed. And hopefully my Wi-Fi will be better. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and thank you for being here. And we will see you on the 28th.
Great.
Nice one. See you
Thank
later.
you.